proposing that the contemporary pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela is a post-secular sanctuary, where religious and secular pilgrims together partake in its sacred power. The route to Santiago works as a sacred space for all who perform its rituals and ritually defined actions. The sacred atmosphere is not due to some inherent quality of the route or even the motivations and belief systems of the pilgrims, but rather stems from the way pilgrims and those who interact with them as part of its support structure endow this endeavor with spiritual significance. Together, through their narratives and experiences, they create a kind of sacred container within which the pilgrim travels. In her book, Pilgrim Stories, Nancy Frey talks about how certain kinds of conduct, attitudes, and modes of travel along the Camino contribute to its consecration or desecration as a sacred space, and define it as more than a tourist itinerary. Traveling the Camino by one's own power on foot or on bicycle, for example, has come to be accepted as the authentic mode of travel and distinguishes the pilgrim from a tourist. The tourist experience in general, I would argue, lacks the tight coordination of actions, which is characteristic of ritual. Because it is more individualistic and freewheeling, it's not able to generate the same sense of the sacred that ritually prescribed actions do. In any case, the modern Camino is full of ritualized experiences such as these. Carrying a scallop shell, giving and receiving the Buen Camino greeting, offering mutual aid and support to each other, walking long distances day in and day out, and all the physical ailments that come from that, experiencing the generosity and kindness of locals and the hospitality of those who run the pilgrim refugios, washing your clothes each day, participating in communal meals, sleeping in communal albergues, collecting stamps in one's pilgrim passport, leaving a stone at the Cruz de Ferro, attending the pilgrim's mass in Santiago, and receiving the Compostela certificate upon completion of the trek. Each of these ritual actions and many others carry understandings and lessons that the pilgrim absorbs in the doing, which through many repetitions reinforces one's identity as a pilgrim and lends a sanctity to the role and makes them feel that they are more than a tourist. They think of themselves as engaged in a spiritual journey, and it is ritual that is the dynamo of its sacredness. In my journeys on the Camino with college students on study abroad trips for nearly a decade now, I am struck by how eventually, as they surrender themselves to the etiquette and the demands of the Camino, they begin to experience the sacred force of its rituals. In this first clip, a few students talk about how they're starting to settle into the routines and accept the discipline it requires, and how that is starting to impact them.
I feel like I've been taking things less for granted. I think the Camino really helps you get back to like what's important, like getting in every day and just being like, oh, I can't wait to take a shower. I can't wait to just lay down for a little bit, just like small things, but like they seem so much bigger than that while I'm here.
Saw you washing your clothes the other day.
Yeah.
And what is that? What you mean? Like?
Yeah, even that. Just, it's nice. Just seems like a nice thing to go through at the end of the day. It's even time to reflect on like how the walk was, people I met.
I think the first few weeks was more of getting used to the routine and the habits of every single day. And I think now it's much more relaxed. We get the routine, so we don't really have to think about it. We just naturally wake up in the morning and we get ready. It just feels weird if we don't shower and do our laundry when we arrive. I definitely feel like day by day you start learning more and you start feeling more comfortable with, who you're with and new people, and it just gives you more time to really start finding out who you are versus who you thought you were.
I didn't know what I was going to want to be focusing on while I was walking, but like we kind of discussed in our meeting today, one of the things I've been like learning directly, not so much just thinking about, but I've directly been changing the way that I've functioned, which has been a little hard for me. I mean, getting into the albergue and immediately showering, so you get those clothes washed and immediately get them on the line while the sun is still out. I'm used to like going home and like just taking my time, honestly. And here, like, I can take my time, in some ways, like on the trail, and I really enjoy doing that, and I'm getting a lot out of that. But it's a switch of a mode, kind of, when you get to the albergue and you have to take care of stuff. It makes me question if at home, maybe I'll start to add a little bit more structure to my life, and that's new for me.
In line with the tradition of Emil Durkheim, Victor Turner described how ritual often has this anti-structural force that can produce a liminal situation where participants are freed from the ordinary structures and statuses they occupy in their ordinary lives and participate in a community of equals he calls communitas. In such a situation, they experience a heightened sense of connection with others and a period of collective effervescence where personal and group reflection and transformation occurs. In Ritual and Religion in the Making of Humanity, anthropologist Roy Rappaport notes how many who have tried to account for the human experience of the divine, from William James to Rudolf Otto to Turner and Durkheim, have described it as the blurring of this distinction between self and other. He writes, "The revelation of the hidden oneness of all things and of one's participation in such a great oneness may be the core meaning of communitas." The experience of communitas, he argues, is at the heart of religious experience. It's also a major theme in how pilgrims talk about what happens to them on their pilgrimage to Santiago. It's ritual that gives pilgrimage its liminal quality, its sacred atmosphere of communitas, and its transcendent power. When pilgrims are able to articulate what often seems beyond words, it is this awareness and feeling of unity with other pilgrims, humanity, and the world in general that they describe as their most profound experience. Furthermore, these kinds of encounters may help to resolve alienated and warring parts of the self and bring about some sense of contentment and peace that has eluded them in their lives heretofore. While sitting on his bunk in the middle of the Meseta, Mike puzzles over the daily grind of being a pilgrim and how it has come to be surprisingly satisfying to him.
Always we start this meeting by saying who we are or where are we doing the Camino.
Vamos a empezar por aquí.
I'm Michael from Massachusetts, and I'm doing this to find some peace.
Just wanted to show everyone my setup, and got my first blister today. You know, it's like a month in. Kind of just talk about the day. Last night stayed in Carillon de los Condes. There's a parish with the singing nuns. It was pretty cool. Last night was there was a snoring orchestra going on. That kind of kept me up, and the beds kind of sucked. And then at 5:30 in the morning, someone's phone just wouldn't stop vibrating, and it's kind of miserable. Miserable night as always. Sometimes it's not that bad. I woke up, miserable mood. So I went to breakfast, had breakfast, it felt a lot better. And I walked, and the Meseta definitely was nicer today. It wasn't just barren desert or fields. There's trees and stuff, which is nice. The sun wasn't that bad. It was a good day after walking. Now I'm here, just got that shower. Just kind of sitting here, decided I'd give you a perspective that mornings suck, but the day gets better. The day makes it better. And it's kind of on repeat. You just kind of walk. It's not that bad. You think about a lot of stuff. The day in the life of a pilgrim. Simple, yet oddly satisfying.
in some weird way. Satisfying.
Only a few days into our 2017 study abroad trip at a pilgrim gîte in Astabat, France, the hostel owner led pilgrims in singing at dinner, and we all joined in. A few weeks later, when I asked Alexis what has been one of the highlights of her journey so far, she talked about how she felt at that moment. I would argue that she was trying to describe her experience of communitas at that place.
I think it's weird because it's only I think the 12th day or something, and I feel like I've already learned a lot. We had a group meeting today, and we were gonna mention stuff from our journals, and I was overlooking it to see what I would say, and I found the spot that we stayed at a albergue in France, well, gîte actually, and this guy was singing at dinner, and I literally just had a moment that I looked around and I was like, this is what it's like to live. I don't know, him singing, it's so little, but it really made me feel alive. I wasn't in the regular routine of what I normally do, and I can't explain it. I literally felt alive in that moment. I felt present, I'd say.
Another signature Camino ritual serves to illustrate in more detail the power of the sacred. Upon reaching the Cruz de Ferro in Galicia, pilgrims bring a stone or some other physical artifact to leave behind that represents a burden of some kind that is ceremoniously left on what has become, over the years, a huge pile at the foot of a long pole with a cross on top. Toward the end of his journey, Mike was beginning to find the words about how the Camino was impacting him in general, but especially as he participated in the ritual at the Cruz de Ferro.
Gracias. Gracias. People here in Spain are so nice. My mood's really changed. The past couple of days have been extraordinary. When I wake up now, I'm not miserable. I have a different mindset about things. I appreciate the smaller things in life. I don't let the things that trip me up, I don't let them get to me as much as I used to. That's a big thing. I kind of feel like I've completely changed. It's been one hell of a time. But a good time. I feel like I found peace a little bit more than I had before, and the Cruz de Ferro kind of hit me hard. I don't know, there was a strong presence there. Not sure what it was, but it was really, really powerful, and I hope when I go back home it changes me. The things I left at the cruise are there at the cruise. I'm not taking them back with me back home. Obviously, there'll be times where I think about them, but it won't be as bad. If you let the Camino take you for a ride, it's going to take you for a ride. Go with the flow, and what happens on the Camino will change your life. It's been a long journey, full of laughter and sadness and misery and anger and every single emotion you could possibly think of. But the Camino doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you need. Sometimes it's a harder truth than you want it to be, and sometimes it's a blessing. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I would mention one other aspect of the sacred that I hear described by many pilgrims. Phil Volker, for example, in Annie O'Neill's film Phil's Camino, says, "On the Camino, everything seems more intense. The pain seems more intense, the friendship seems more intense, the beauty seems more intense." Sort of a vision of heaven, really. Well, I would say that if it's a vision of heaven, It's a vision of heaven on earth. In other words, it's not some kind of ideal, perfect, or utopian society, but rather real society at its best. With only a few days left to go in their pilgrimage, Samantha expressed this aspect of the sacred when she and the other students were reflecting on what they had learned and wanted to incorporate it into their lives back home.
We've been thinking about what we're going to do back home a lot more than when we were hiking up the Pyrenees or walking the Meseta. It's more of, now is the time where we are just thinking about how to utilize our different perspective back home.
I'm gonna go back into the same routine. Like that's whether you like it or not. It's kind of what
We all
tends to do. Yeah. It's just how you live in that routine and like what you decide to do to differ your life.
I get up every morning and I just want to walk, and I'm excited to walk. I'm excited to see what new things are ahead. That's such a good metaphor for just life forthcoming.
I want to wake up every day wanting to do whatever I'm gonna do, or even if you don't have plans, just being excited for the day.
We just walked across an entire country. Not many people do that, so it feels weird that it's ending. You're kind of in awe, in shock, speechless.
Nothing bad has happened on this trip compared to the good. And just all the beautiful moments, just having some weird thoughts, and then you see a rainbow, or you see something written that perfectly tunes in with whatever you were thinking and just lifts you up. All of these little things kind of seem to be placed throughout the day that draw your day in a different direction, and those are the things that the Camino really just provides to you. You're not even looking for it, and it just comes when you need it. Going to Santiago with that under our belts is a good feeling.
Samantha is speaking here, I think, about the serendipitous moments, the little miracles that many pilgrims note about their journey that contribute to the feeling that one is living in a special reality that offers you gifts and guidance and leaves you feeling carried along by a force greater than yourself.